Yeah. Perfect. And then I'm also going to use, there's a feature called focus mode, which should keep your, it should spotlight our presentation. And I'm going to remove spotlight from me. There we go. Okay. So I'd like to, actually, I don't think the spotlight mode is going to work. I want it to bring Jennifer up.
Once I start talking, do I?
There we go. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So welcome again. And I would like to introduce Jennifer Lebec. As I mentioned earlier, she is a youth services librarian. She was out in Forks for a couple of years and has just recently returned to the Port Angeles branch, 4 years. And she is also a certified yoga teacher. And she has a great presentation for us today on mindfulness, movement, and breath. And I'm just going to go ahead and hand this over to Jennifer to let her get started.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I'm so excited to be here. Like Cheryl said, my name is Jennifer Lebec, and I've been working in libraries for over 20 years. I'm currently a youth services librarian for the North Olympic Library System, and I'm in Port Angeles. I worked in Forks for 4 years, and then before that, I was here in Port Angeles for 3 years. So now I'm back full circle. My yoga background includes 15 plus years of a personal practice, and I've been teaching yoga for over 5 years. I am a trauma-informed yoga teacher with a 500-hour yoga teacher certification with an additional certification in yoga for children. So I did start out teaching yoga to kids first, but I do teach adults as well. I'm currently enrolled in a yoga therapy program where I've completed over 900 hours of training so far. And for me, life is about learning, and that's why I love libraries and books. And I'm super excited to be here today to share mindfulness practices with you all. So today's the plan. We'll be exploring mindfulness, movement, so mainly yoga, and breath practices. I'll talk about what these practices are, the science and why behind the practice, and then it will be followed by a mini practice that we will do together. So mindfulness, what is it? Why should we care about it? Who can do it? Where could one do it? And when should we do it? The Oxford English Dictionary defines mindfulness as a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. The what? Mindfulness is the human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not to be overly reactive or to be overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Whenever we bring awareness to what we're directly experiencing via our senses or to a state of mind via thoughts and emotions, we are being mindful. There is growing research showing that when we train our brains to be mindful, we are actually remodeling the physical structure of the brain. I find this super fascinating. We will look more at mindfulness in the brain during the next slide when we look closer at the science and the why behind mindfulness practices. Some examples of mindfulness practices include, but are not limited to, focusing on breathing, paying close attention and focusing on one thing at a time, seated meditation, body scans, and walking meditations. Who is mindfulness for? Anyone can do a mindfulness practice, but remember it is a practice and it takes time to build a practice, and not everyone will have the same results. Where? Mindfulness can be done anywhere and doesn't require any special tools. When mindfulness can be done at any time of the day or night and for any length of time. Benefits of mindfulness, according to research, includes improved sleep, lowering of blood pressure, helps relieve stress, and improves mental health. Mindfulness practices such as meditation can also help rewire the brain, which is pretty exciting. According to Dr. Dan Siegel, who is a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA School of Medicine and founding co-director of the Mindful Awareness Research Center, neuroplasticity is the term used to describe the capacity for creating new neural connections and growing neurons to respond to experience. So it occurs throughout our lifespan as we are consistently exposed to experiences. Neuroplasticity is the shaping of the brain due to internal and external input. Siegel also states one of the key practical lessons of modern neuroscience is that the power to direct our attention has within it the power to shape our brain's firing patterns, as well as the power to shape the architecture of the brain itself. I find all this super interesting. The careful focus of attention through mindfulness meditation amplifies neuroplasticity by stimulating the release of neurochemicals. The neurochemicals enhance the structural growth of synaptic linkages among the activated neurons. By practicing regular meditation, neural networks in the medial prefrontal cortex are strengthened and stabilized. There's tons and tons, there's a plethora of studies that are researching and supporting the claim that meditation can lead to neurological changes. And I'll just give a couple examples, but I encourage you to explore this more, and there will be a resource page available at the end that will be emailed out by Cheryl later. So some of this research and some of the books and things that I got information from are included on that resource page. For example, in a study conducted by the National Institutes of Health, mindfulness meditation has been shown to reduce the activity of the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain that determines how much stress we experience. And meditation can even change the size of this area of the brain. After 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation training, overstressed business people found that the size of the amygdala activity shrunk compared to those who are not practicing mindfulness. So they took a whole bunch of scans of people's brain to figure this out during this research process. So there's other research and studies being published about the effect of mindfulness has on dementia and Alzheimer's. Mindfulness meditation practices reduces the stress hormone cortisol, which has been known to increase the risk of developing dementia. This practice helps increase cortical thickness and gray matter, which slows the aging rate of the brain. A study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease states, mindfulness practices can help prevent those with mind cognitive impairment from developing Alzheimer's. With that said, let's do a short mindfulness practice together. So I encourage you to sit comfortably in a chair as we do this practice together.
Settling in, noticing how your body best feels positioned. Taking a moment to be and feel completely at ease. As we begin our practice, noticing our eyes, choosing to have them open or closed, whatever feels comfortable for you today in this moment. Relaxing the jaw, sinking your shoulders back and down, softening our brow, becoming present to our bodies and its sensations. Noticing the breath, our anchor, our life force. Noticing the natural rhythm, rising and falling of our chest and stomachs. With every in-breath, we welcome stillness, and on every out-breath, releasing any tension. Together, taking a slow, deep inhale through the nose and releasing slowly through the mouth. Again, breathing slowly and deeply through the nose. Gently and slowly releasing out through the mouth. One more time. Inhaling slowly through the nose. And releasing out through the mouth. Noticing our toes, our feet, and our legs. Noticing any pressure. Noticing the air. Is it gentle? Is it cool? Is it warm? Noticing any feelings, any vibrations in our legs. Noticing any heaviness in the right leg and in the left leg. And when the mind begins to wander, simply calling it back home and returning to our breath. Placing our awareness to our stomachs, noticing its presence, noticing its emptiness, noticing its fullness, noticing any sounds or discomforts, noticing its expansion with every in-breath, and noticing how it falls on the out-breath. And when the mind begins to wander and thoughts begin to arise, calling the mind back home. Placing our attentions to our shoulders and our chest. Noticing if there is any heaviness, any tension, any pain, any soreness. Noticing how our breath enters into our lungs, filling our chest. Notice how our breath circulates in our bodies. Notice the beating of our hearts, our pulse. Noticing the body and its automatic functioning, its flow, its rhythm. Now placing our awareness to our face. Noticing any tightness. Maybe there's tension between the brows. Maybe our jaws are clenched. Noticing any tightness around the eyes. And using the breath to soften the brow, unclench the jaw, sinking our shoulders back and down. Noticing our body, our vessels, our home, and sending love, sending gratitude to every corner of our body, every crevice, every imperfection, every flaw, sending love, sending nourishment from the crown of our heads to the soles of our feet, noticing our wholeness and that we are complete. As this practice comes to an end, coming present to our bodies and to our breath, coming present to the room, to the sounds, maybe taking a moment to invite movement back to our legs, perhaps rotating our ankles and into our hands, opening and closing them. Taking a deep inhale, lifting your arms up overhead for a stretch. And as you exhale, bringing your arms back down to your side. And whenever feels right for you, opening your eyes and thanking yourself for being in this practice.
From our mindfulness practice, we'll move on to mindful movement. So mindful movement practices include Qigong, which is an ancient Chinese practice that coordinates body, breath, and mind. Tai Chi is also a form of mindful practice that began as a Chinese tradition. It's based in martial arts and involves slow movements and deep breaths. And then I'll also include yoga in this practice, which is a group of physical, mental, and spiritual practices that originated in ancient India. Because I'm trained in yoga, this will be our focus for today, but know that research does show that other mindful movement practices are also beneficial for one's health, body, and mind. So anyone at all can do yoga, and there are a lot of different types and various styles of yoga. So you should be able to find something that you enjoy. If you test out a yoga teacher, there might be a different teacher out there that you would enjoy better or connect with more. There's also all different kinds of yoga. So I encourage you just to test out different options that you have available. So I really do enjoy teaching young kids yoga. We focus with the littles, I focus on poses that are animal poses, and I use picture books and stuff with them. But I've also taught power yoga to adults, which is a more physical and demanding practice, and then also some gentle yoga and chair yoga, and then the restorative yummy yoga. I love restorative. So that's just like to give a small sampling of what kinds of yoga is out there. So some of the benefits of yoga include, but are not limited to, increased flexibility. It strengthens muscles, builds stronger bones, improves balance, improves posture, improves lung function, and this leads to slower and deeper breathing. Research shows that slower breathing is calming to the nervous system, which we will look at more closely when we discuss breathwork. Yoga provides more than physical benefits. Yoga improves brain function, lowers levels of the stress hormone cortisol, can help lower blood pressure, improves psychological health, and fosters self-growth. There is a lot to be learned from yoga and about yoga, and there's plenty of scientific research backing up the health and well-being aspects of yoga. If you would like to do some deeper digging on the therapeutic benefits of yoga, I recommend the book Yoga is Medicine by Timothy McCall, who's a medical doctor. And this book is available at the library. And it will be on the resource list as well. So here is yoga and the brain. Let's take a closer look at yoga, mental health, and the brain. So the brain has three structures: the reptilian or instinctual brain, which asks, am I safe? The limbic or emotional brain, which asks, what am I feeling? And the neocortex or thinking brain, which asks, what does this all mean? So how can yoga help our mental health? With trauma, depression, chronic stress, or anxiety, the limbic brain becomes overactive. Signals from the amygdala, so the amygdala is the fear center or the fire alarm of the limbic brain, encourages flight or fight responses from the reptilian brain, causing the stress response to override the relaxation response. When this happens frequently, the thinking brain is less effective in regulating. Yoga, including postures, breathwork, and mindfulness, teaches the thinking brain to better regulate mood and emotional states amid stressors in life. So next up, get comfortable in a chair and we will do a chair yoga practice together. Just a little side note, make sure that your chair does not move. We all want to be safe.
Welcome to chair yoga. As you can see here, I have a folding chair. You can use whatever chair you have that is stable. I recommend not using a office chair with wheels on it. So come and find a comfortable seat in your chair of choice. And we'll begin our practice today with some neck rolls. So remember, anything that I do today that I share with you is a suggestion. I'm just guiding you. So if there's something that you feel that would not be good for your body in this moment, please take care of yourself and don't do that. Okay, so right now we'll begin with some neck rolls, just gently bringing your right ear to the right shoulder, and we'll rotate it slowly to the front. Left ear to left shoulder, and then coming all the way to the back. And we'll make another full rotation. Slowly working our way, and then opposite direction. So changing to the opposite direction. Just getting any little kinks out of our neck. Next, we'll do some wrist rolls. So just rotate. We'll rotate our wrists one direction, and then the opposite direction. Next, we'll spread our fingers and our hands out really, really wide. You might feel some tension as you stretch in between each finger, and then close them up really tight. And then open and close one more time. Open, stretch, and close. Shake it out however feels good for you and whatever makes you happy. So start there, and then we'll take one arm and bring it over the front of your chest, using the opposite hand to help stretch it maybe a little bit more, knowing that once we do something on one side, we'll definitely do it on the other side as well. So we'll release that, opposite arm across the body. And release. And next we'll take our shoulders, inhale, bringing them up to our ears, and exhale, releasing them down as you release your breath. Inhale up, shoulders back and down. One more time, inhale up. Then we'll do some shoulder rolls
coming forward. So we'll start forward. You can do this with your breath as well. Some intentional breathing. And then we'll go the opposite direction, moving our shoulders back. All right, so next we'll work on that upper part of our body that sometimes gets tight from sitting or from hunching over a computer. So this is called eagle arms, and I'll give two variations. You're going to take your arms up, bend at the elbows, take one arm, bring it over the other, and you can bind, double wrap if that works for you. Your shoulders are back and down and elbows are up. And if this isn't accessible at this moment for you, you can release your hands and just bring them to your shoulders and you will feel the same sensation. You can play around with this and lift your elbows maybe a little higher and see how that might feel. It may bring a little more stretch, some more release. And then we'll relax and do the opposite arm on top, coming to eagle arms or releasing the hands to your shoulders. This is good and you can do it for at any time. It feels really great. All right, from here we will release our arms. Do little shoulder dance. And so we're going to do cat and cow seated. So we'll put our hands on our lap and you can roll your back and then inhale, coming forward to cow, looking up if that's safe for you today. So rounding as you release your breath, inhaling up. So we're just extending ours and warming up our spine. Do a couple more here at your own pace. And coming back to neutral, making sure your feet are nice and steady on the ground. One leg will be secure on the floor and the other one you can inhale up and cross that ankle and bring it over the top of your opposite thigh, and this is a figure 4 shape. So you should be able to feel this in your hip, knowing that everybody's body is different, and I have tight hips, so mine is up a little higher. Some of you may be able to bring that knee equal to your hip. I am not, and it's okay. So let this sink in a little, and then release. We'll do the opposite side. You can gently push down on your thigh if that helps open up, if it feels good. And then from here, we'll release. And we'll take our opposite hand, so take one hand and put it to the opposite knee, and then the other hand can go to the back of your chair for a gentle spinal twist, and we'll look over the same shoulder that we're turning towards. And release, opposite hand to opposite knee, hand goes to back to chair, looking over our shoulder. Coming back to center, and we'll end our little yoga snack practice today with a little breathing. So inhale, bringing your arms up overhead, and gently bringing the hands to heart center as you release your breath. Inhale up, exhale, release. Inhale up. And we'll do one more. And thank you for sharing your practice with me today. And I encourage you to explore more yoga options in your life. So I hope you enjoyed that little yoga practice. And I did include a little breath work in this practice, but we will take a deeper dive into breath work next. So breath work is intentional breathing, and the beauty of breath work is it can be practiced anywhere and at any time without any special props. Our breath is a powerful regulation tool. To be alive is to breathe. So if you watch a baby at rest, and you'll see a very good example of healthy breathing. The pattern is relaxed, slow, and wave-like. Unhealthy breathing, by contrast, is rigid and causes muscle tension. While abnormal breathing patterns vary, they're often high in the chest, overly fast, and shallow. Research shows the switch from healthy breathing to unhealthy is beginning in young children earlier and earlier as more and more stress and trauma affects our daily lives. So the average adult only uses 25% of their lung capacity. I just think that's so wild. This is enough to sustain our life. So just using that small portion of our lungs, we still can live, but shallow breathing can lead to health problems. When we don't breathe completely and fully, stale air gets trapped in the lungs, and shallow breathing doesn't deliver as much oxygen to the bloodstream as deep breathing. Another book highlight, the book Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor shares modern research showing that even a slight adjustment in the way we inhale and exhale can jumpstart athletic performance, rejuvenate internal organs, halt snoring, asthma, and autoimmune diseases, and change moods. The author shares his journey with breath, and I found this book to be very approachable. I mean, he does include science, but it was at an approachable level, and it was super humorous. Nestor does some bizarre experiments on himself to change his mouth breathing habits to nostril breathing. And also, a little side note, you can check this book out at your local library. We do have a copy of it at Rawls. So the benefits of breath work. Conscious or intentional breathing provides super quick release of stress. Studies have found that dedicated breath work significantly lowers levels of the stress hormone cortisol. High levels of cortisol can cause chronic inflammation. Elisa Vranich, PhD, a clinical psychologist and breathwork instructor, states, "We try all these different things for stress, but if you're not breathing in a way that tells your nervous system that it's time to relax, you won't get there." So 2, breath work trains us to breathe slower and deeper, which can help lower blood pressure. Studies have found that patients with hypertension saw a big drop in blood pressure after practicing slow, deep breathing. And finally, researchers took a look at the effects of coherent breathing on depression in people engaged in a 12-week study who practiced breathwork, had a measurable decline in depressive symptoms and showed improvement. Breathing's mood-boosting powers could be due to its ability to actually decrease the size of the amygdala, the part of the brain that detects fear and triggers the body's fight or flight response, which in turn increases the prefrontal cortex's ability to engage in complex thinking. So here are some principles for a healthy breathing. The first step toward recovering and encouraging our natural breath is to become more aware of our breath. While breathing is a natural and automatic process, unhealthy breathing habits are usually unconscious and inappropriate for the situation, such as breathing fast and high in the chest while a person is in an inactive state. Unhealthy breathing patterns can be caused by long periods of chronic stress. Being aware of our current breathing can give us the information we need to unlearn unhealthy breathing habits and to rediscover our natural breath. Breathe through the nose. I'm like, just breathe through the nose. Taking air through the nose, our nostrils, warms, moisturizes, and it prepares it for the lungs. Nose breathing cleans and filters the air to help ward off infections. It also slows the breathing rate. And the diaphragm is our primary breathing mechanism. It is that dome-shaped sheet of muscle and tendon that attaches to the bottom of our rib cage. During inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and flattens downward while the lower rib cage expands. This vacuum pulls air into the lungs. During exhalation, the diaphragm, lungs, and chest muscles naturally recoil and express the air. During deep inhalation, the diaphragm pushes the abdominal organs down and out, giving the impression that one is breathing into their belly. If ab muscles are constricted, the diaphragm's action is limited, resulting in a loss of efficient breathing and often results in chest breathing. Therefore, many breathing exercises begin with recommendation to relax, sitting up tall, and imagine breathing into your belly. While not technically accurate, belly breathing is an effective tool to establish a more efficient and healthier breath. So slowing the breath by consciously slowing our breath, especially the exhalation, you can facilitate the relaxation response even more and can develop some control over how our nervous system responds to our environment. And the rhythm of our breath has 3 parts: the exhalation, the inhalation, and the pauses in between. A healthy, relaxed breath has a pause at the end of the exhalation and a slight pause at the inhalation. In times of stress, we can lose the pauses in our breath and quite literally lose the pauses in our life. Pausing is a natural result of learning to relax into the breath. Some traditional yogic breathing techniques, which are called pranayama, include breath retention. So with that said, let's begin a breathwork practice together. There's many different kinds of breathwork practices, but today we'll look at alternate nostril breathing.
Your breathwork practice. Today we will focus on alternate nostril breathing. The effects of alternate nostril breathing includes it balances our emotional well-being, and it regulates and helps balances the autonomic nervous system, which these are all great things. And another benefit is it's really easy to do, and you can do it anywhere without any special tools. So to begin with, we'll sit comfortably in a chair with your feet on the floor. You can also do this sitting on the floor, crisscross legs, or kneeling, as long as your spine is tall and neutral. We want to make sure we are not inhibiting our lungs at all, so we can get some deep breaths. Your left hand can rest comfortably on your lap, And then your right hand, we're going to be using our thumb and our middle finger to close off each nostril. So the right thumb will close off the right nostril, the middle finger will close off the left nostril. So I'll talk us through this. Sometimes my voice might sound strange because I will be holding my nostrils, holding my breath and pausing with you. So we'll begin by placing our right thumb on our right nostril, inhaling through the left nostril, and then closing off the left one as you release the right, and exhaling. Inhale through the right, closing off that right nostril, releasing the left. Inhale to the left. Close it off, exhale to the right. Inhale to the right. Close it off, exhale, release through the left. So you would repeat this cycle in to the left, out to the right, and then into the right, out to the left for 5 to 10 minutes or longer if desired, depending on how much time and how it affects you. So thank you for sharing.
So that's just one possible breathwork practice. And anytime you just naturally just slowing down your breath. So taking a deep inhale through the nose and then just releasing it slowly out. It will have benefits, some health benefits. So with that, I am done. So I can take some questions. Thank you all for attending, and I hope this presentation has sparked your neurons, and I encourage you to explore these topics further. And as always, your library has books and other resources for your future learning adventures. And like I mentioned earlier, Cheryl will be sending out my resource list in a future email. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see faces.
And I'm going to go ahead and hit stop on the recording. So if anybody has any questions, comments, or anything, feel free to unmute yourself. And you can always raise your hand if there's folks waiting too. So I'm going to hit stop recording.